So give yourselves a woo. Woo! Oh, y'all are good. But you gotta get the hands going too. So, okay, will you do it again? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Woo!
All right, so woo! Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It was one of those slow mornings, though, man. I had to shake the slumber off.
Yeah.
But now feeling pretty good now. So, oh gosh. So what is new? What's been going on with you this week, Lisa?
A whole lot. This mostly the same old, but I've been doing my plants and this our freezing weather in Las Vegas. I know we're only down to 45, but it's still.
Oh. Well, no, Bill said this morning was 34 out there.
Was it? Oh, cool.
That's what he said. I'm gonna do a little adjusting here. So yeah, so we've had some lower 30s. So yeah, I didn't know if you'd be out there planting or not, but you start yours in small things.
Well, yeah, and I've been planting my tomatoes. I moved them over to soil blocks, so I've got them indoors, and they're thriving really nicely indoors.
Yeah, where it's nice and toasty.
Yes,
and no wind. Yeah, because we've had a good bit of wind too.
Yeah, the wind has been horrible.
Hard. So good morning. Who is out there with us? Do we have anybody out there? You want to say howdy? Say hi there. Do something. Tell us where you are. Where are you? Where do you live? I know we have our several gals who usually join us from Kansas City, which is always fun. And so anyway, when you come on, say hi and tell us where you live. That would be great. So I think I'm going to do a little commercial as we kind of give a couple minutes for people to get on. I like to give them that chance because sometimes I know it's like they're in one thing and have to go directly to the next. So I'll give a little moment for that. So behind me, as y'all see, the Wow the World Business Networking Conference. We are here in Las Vegas, August 4th, 5th, and 6th. And we have a headliner that we're working on contracts with. We can't tell you yet who it's going to be, but we're pretty excited about it, right, Lisa?
Oh, yes. And if we can procure her, this is going to be just amazing. So I'm looking really forward to the entertainment, the fun, all of the different workshops and talks. It's just going to be a power-packed conference.
It really, really is. And for those of you out there, especially those of y'all who do the HMP networking, the Happy Neighborhood Project, and if you are interested in that or want more information, just reach out to me and send me a message. Would love to tell you about that. So if you're looking at ways to make more contacts, it's a really fun place to do that. But Kathy, our wonderful Kathy Weaver in Kansas City, is a big part of that. She's a mentor. She does lots of things, does lots of training for that. She's so good at it. Well, if you want to be in Kathy Weaver's space, come to Las Vegas. She is going to be doing training. She's going to be, she and I are going to be sidekicks together. She's going to be helping with the MC part of the program. So if you want to be in her space, walk down the hallways with her, because I know a lot of y'all just admire her so much. So that is your chance to come hang out and be around Kathy Weaver. So it's gonna be really fun. We have a gal down in Australia. When I told her Kathy, she says, "Oh my gosh," she said, I may have to get me an airplane ticket and come just because I'd like to hang out in her space. So bring it on. As well as we have other speakers. Lisa's gonna be doing one of the Friday night fun things, so you're not gonna want to miss that either. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. So the QR code is up there, and you can also, it's just wowtheworld2023.com. And they'll tell you all about it. And if you have any questions or whatever, just reach out. So, and if you absolutely cannot make it in person, yes, you can go online. So there is a virtual part of that as well. So, Lisa, talking about fun and talking about let's lighten up. Would you agree women just feel, oftentimes we feel like we carry the world on our shoulder? Would you agree?
Well, I would say that women are really good at the beatings will continue until morale improves type mentality against ourselves. we we tend to really hold ourselves to a high standard and to continue to kind of nitpick at our own personality and what we're doing and how we're behaving. I just think we hold ourselves to a high standard, put it that way, which is not horrible, but it's how we react to that.
Yeah, and I think that's true. As moms, we want to be a great mom. We want our kids to be, raise them to be responsible, healthy, happy, adjusted kids. We want our house to be, a great place for the family to come home to. So we're wearing all these hats, and if you work outside the home, even when you work inside the home, there's so many things that need to be done, and we're trying to balance or juggle is more the thing. All of that, and so we tend to be pretty serious. And I was thinking about this morning. It seems like when so the dog, okay, so little Gabby, she just waddles right after Bill. She just hangs around his, the heels when he's walking around. Every time she sees him get up out of his chair, she's like on alert. Oh, we get to go someplace, because Dad is the one that is taking her to the dog park, and he's the one that takes her a walk around the neighborhood sometimes. So she knows that he's the one for fun. And I was thinking that when the kids were little, it was the same thing. Dad was the one that was rolling around on the floor more than me. I don't know. I mean, I think I did some fun things. I'm not saying that, but I think we, as the moms and the women in the family, we have to kind of make a more concerted effort or be more intentional about doing to kind of just like release some of that and just have some fun.
Yeah. Well, at a Christian women's conference one time, I did a speech called Franken Mommy. It was about the fact that the image of the person that we think everybody else is, our neighbor, that person is who I call Franken Mommy, and that person does not exist because we take little parts and pieces from everybody that's around us. Susie bakes bread all the time. Jenny has her house clean. And this person has budgets really well. And this person's always with their kids and they're perfect with their kids. And we take all those little traits and we put it into this imaginary one mom. And then we try to be that person when it's really just an accumulation of parts from all kinds of great people. And then we don't include our own best talent that we have to offer. People are looking at us and seeing part of their Franken Mommy in us. We just don't realize it. But there is no Frankenstein mother that's perfect. She's not. There's no accumulation of a perfect mom out there. So we've got to lighten up on ourselves. We've got to start to appreciate the divine qualities and talents that God gave us and just quit worrying about how perfect everybody else is.
That's a good point. And I love that Franken mom. It's like,
she just doesn't exist. She's our nightmare.
No. But that's such a great way of putting it, because that really is true. We think of all the women around us, and we'd like to emulate, something in many of them. And so then, I love that. That's really a great example. I might have to borrow that, Lisa.
You borrow it all you want.
I love that. Because, I think in that whole comparison, we've talked about this multiple times, because it's just so an issue we need to always be looking at and reminding ourselves, because we're always comparing ourselves, and we never compare my best thing to theirs. No, it's always their best thing, which usually the reason we're noticing it is because maybe we feel inadequate in that area. So we're taking our not so great trait to their best trait, their wow factor. And so we're never going to feel like we measure up. So
plus we never see we
Go ahead.
never see that whole picture. We never see what's going on behind the scenes. You know,
Right.
when you see that somebody's happy on Facebook and you see that they're happy in a networking meeting, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They may be a person who's fighting severe depression. Um, you know, and when they're doing all the things like to keep their house clean, and that's what you see, they may be dealing with another challenge in their life, and that's what they're using to compensate. We don't know the whole picture, and we never will see the whole picture. So
Right.
I just think we've got to quit comparing ourselves to each other. And that's one of the things that I think we have to lighten up on, is just start appreciating all the talents that God gave us. I used to be, everybody knows this, I'm not a very good housekeeper. My house is not immaculate and perfect. It's just not where I have the energy to deal with things. My energy is more up in my head. People appreciate the fact that more things are up in my head, because you know there's problems that I solve for my coaching and consulting people. I probably wouldn't get hired if they, you know, saw that I wasn't a Martha Stewart in my house. But that's okay with me now. It used to be a real big prong in my life, but it's okay for me to not be perfect in one area and not have that talent, but to have talents in other areas. I'm pretty sure nobody has, you know, a whole horticultural garden that's growing, you know, with hydroponics, and they probably aren't engineering little mechanisms to make all that work. So I'm a little different in that area, and that's okay. That's the talent that God gave me, and I've started celebrating that rather than worrying about the other problems, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, because part of me would like to be doing what you're doing with your garden and all that. My one attempt did not turn out so well. And what I found out was it just wasn't that important to me. It's like,
Yeah.
it sounds wonderful. And I love the fact that you do it and Dr. Laura does it. But it's just not that important to me. If it was, I'd figure out how to do it. You know, have one of y'all train me or something. Um, but you're absolutely right. And I think that is a big important thing, is to celebrate who we are, celebrate the gifts that we do have, and be thankful for those, as opposed to always thinking about what we don't have, or the gifts, the talents or gifts that we don't have. Um, it just makes life so much nicer if we'll just kind of chill out, release those thoughts, and celebrate who God made us to be. So, what is something that's fun that you actually like to do, Lisa?
I really enjoy a good hike out, and you know, when there is good weather and I can go hiking up to uh, just nature and things like that, and just settle down and be quiet for a little while. That's something I super enjoy. I don't get to do it as often as I would like to, and it's a little slower trek for me, but than some people. But I just love that. That's one of my fun places.
That is cool. Well, and right there, you said not as fast as some people. So, like, who cares how fast somebody else can go? Right?
It just has to go that way, you know.
I know the fact that you're out and enjoying it is for sure. Again, it's interesting. In my book, and you know what, any of y'all who are listening, if you don't have my book already, I would be happy to just send you, send it in virtual, online form. What do you call that, Lisa? It's not really an ebook, but I'll send you a link for the book, and just because if you want to have it, I'd love for you
You're
to have
talking
that.
about a digital link.
Digital, thank you. My brain's not working that way. But I go back to the interview. It's been kind of fun to go back and read the from the interviews that I had with ladies and ask them what fun was. And some of them, so it was all different types. Some did more like you, Lisa, love to just be out and walking in nature. This one lady, she says, fun is playing with my daughter. My brain is young. I tumble around and run around with her and she and her friends. So it's like, yeah, that is cool. I think sometimes, we get more reserved. I don't know. The older we get, the more, or I find anyway, the more reserved I get as far as getting down there. Um, it's being, let's see, this was a, it's being carefree and silly, being who you are and not caring what others think. There we
Yeah,
go.
that's
Let's not
crucial.
care
Yeah,
what other people
yeah,
think. Um, and I like this. I think more time with friends would be my idea of fun. Girlfriends are important. And when our lives get so caught up with other things, we still need to make time to be with each other. And I think that is so, because I know when we have our Thursday lunch, I always have a great time. We laugh, we get to, hug each other.
hmm
Sometimes we get a little silly. It's just such a wonderful time. When I leave, I just feel great, just having
I do
that
too.
time of separation. So um, I think getting together with friends, and maybe it's just going out to coffee, is something I just really enjoy, getting together with other people. And I think particularly since we've been through a long time of not really being able to get out and do that, I appreciate it so much more now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I know for you too, because I get to watch on the sidelines of your life. I love all the fun things. They seem really fun to me. So I'm thinking your grandkids think it's fun too. Just
We
all
have a
the
lot of fun.
yeah, just all the fun activities that you do when your grandkids come for that couple of weeks in the summer. And
We,
I look forward to that because, I want to get down on the floor and play with the kids, with my grandkids.
yeah.
And when we go to, we're trying to figure out when to go to Kansas City the next time. It might be May. We don't really know. Just kind of depends on timing and all that. But just looking forward to those kind of time. And Henry, because Justin and Emily both work, and so they're not as available. Alicia is home with Henry, and so she's available a lot. She's not feeling well today, so she's not
Oh,
on with us.
bless her heart.
But most every day or every other day, we FaceTime. And so, in Henry, it's so funny because he's 4 years old. I just find this so amazing. Mimi, I show you. And he always has something he wants to show me. So sometimes it's his game on TV, or sometimes it's how he can throw the basketball in the hoop there in the living room. And it's just fun to be a part of that, even though it's virtual. I feel blessed that we have the virtual option to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that lightening up can be letting the inner child in us have some fun instead of being encapsulated by adulthood. And I thoroughly have told my grandkids that grandma has not grown up and probably never will, and that I truly believe adults are just kids in adult bodies. And so I've one of the funny things that we talk about a lot is that when grandma gets older, I'm going to be in a hovercraft running around trying to put ice cubes down their back. So so they know that it's just being childlike lets a lot of energy into your body, and I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, that we need to just try to do that more often. Just to, again, it's kind of just that letdown, like deep breath and like, whew, do something just fun. Um, I think part of it too can be being spontaneous. So instead of, how we can get so rigid, and or at least I know I can, you do this. And even, when the kids were young at home and you had dinner and all of that. And then usually Bill would go play with the kids for a while I did the dishes. Well, every so often I would just say, well, forget the dishes, and just would go in with them. And that was fun to be with them in Rough House or whatever it was, or sometimes it was play a game. But the dishes, it's just really funny about that. It didn't really matter if they got done at 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Just I would had to go back to them later. And I think we're trying so hard to keep it all together. Well, I need to get the dishes done, and that's one of mine because I can't stand dishes in the sink. So, it's like, that's not going to stay that way very
Well,
long. But it really didn't matter if it was
yeah,
2 hours later.
that was why my tradition in my family was that we would bake for 3 days, and my mom would be so tired by the time we got to holidays. And she provided the most amazing holidays. My mom is amazing that way. But for me, with limited energy, I decided after a couple of those type of Thanksgivings with my kids or holidays, I decided that I wanted to be with people more than I wanted to do 3 days of cooking for them. So we really simplified Thanksgiving, and we just would get fancy plastic plates. And then I would have time to be with everybody. And nobody even, like, they didn't miss the huge dinners per se. I mean, those were always wonderful and amazing and magical, but it just was like that was my way of compensating and having the important times with my kids. So sometimes you just have to let things go that have been built up over years and years and years. So many different things, you know, it's like we have to make sure that this is up and you have to make sure this is in place. And just we keep adding, never subtract. Have you noticed that? Never subtract.
That's true. That's true. You know, like, okay. And again, it goes back to what you talked about in the very beginning. You know, we have a way of doing, and then we notice that Mary across the street does this, and oh, that's such a great idea. I think I'm going to try that. And you add that. So we're always adding these new things to try. And sometimes we try them and we realize, you know, that just doesn't work for us. And so we let it go. But oftentimes we don't let it go. You know, we don't relieve something. I did that. This sounds kind of crazy. I did that with clothes for a while back. I haven't needed to do it lately, but when I was kind of in my buying mode and, you know, all of this, and I'd go out and I'd, you know, buy a new blouse or a new pair of shoes or something like that. And so I just kept accumulating. And so then I decided, okay, for everything I buy, I'm going to release something. So I would, you know, go in my closet and I'd take something out to give to Goodwill or the consignment shop or something. And that actually turned out to be a pretty beneficial thing because it kind of made me realize that I was really buying too much. You know, I don't know if that's what you do. And the kids are young. I'd go out, shop, and buy myself something and come back. And that was really, you know, a nice release to be able to look at that. So try to find ways of things that you can do to, you know, change, well, and to just change it up. Like I said before, being spontaneous, you know, after dinner, you know, instead of just, especially now, this is one, and I have done this a couple of times. Y'all know that cooking is not my favorite thing. Now I did it and I do it. You know, when my kids were young, Bill traveled a lot. So it was most of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he was gone. I mean, he was really gone most of the time. So we just had whatever I wanted to have for dinner. I didn't feel quite as like I had to make it so perfect if Bill was gone. The kids and I just did whatever we felt like we wanted to do. You know, but sometimes, you know, you would have a dinner, maybe you did, I did, that wasn't so great. You know, you tried something new and it didn't turn out so great. So rather than just beating myself up on it and just like, I just gave into it. It's like, okay, this was pretty awful. Let's go get ice cream. You know, something just totally crazy. Of course, then the kids loved that. I did that a few times. Like, gosh, Mom, this isn't very good. Maybe we need ice cream. So
my favorite save dinner meal was to have breakfast for dinner.
Yeah,
we do pancakes and bacon or something like that. So
Bill has a great recipe for pancakes. They are so light. I mean, they are just not those heavy kind of pancakes that you get at, you know, IHOP or someplace. They're really just light and fluffy, and it's a Swedish recipe that has been handed down in his family. So when Bill would say, okay, let's do pancakes for dinner, the kids loved it. You know, because sometimes in the mornings, you know, you don't have time to do that. You know, Saturday mornings were good, but, you know, he had to go to work during the week, so you didn't have time for that. So him making pancakes was really special. But if you did it for dinner, that was even better. You know, I always liked that too. So
I did.
Yes, that changing it up. I think that alone, just the changing things, your normal routine, changing it up can be a lot of fun. And sometimes I think we find that maybe we like it better in the changed up way. I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not. So how about, is there any of y'all? I don't see any comments here this morning. Just go in and make a comment. Just say that what's something you do for fun. We have someone out that wants to give a little idea of something that you've tried or that you enjoy. What's something that you enjoy? And we'll just watch and see if we see something over there.
Well, and while we're waiting for them to
Yeah.
comment about what they do for fun, when I do the time management thing, one of the things that is so good or healthy about that is the purging that you do. You audit everything in that you do in your life, and then you kind of make a list with those priorities. And then I suggest to the people that I used to coach in that time management situation to get rid of things, to literally just cut loose some activities that you think are so necessary and focus in on ones that are more necessary so that you actually have gaps in your schedule. In other words, you're not
Wow.
just a busybody badge, which
Mhm.
is another thing we think as women that's something that's positive, but it's really what contributes to our stress a lot of the times is that we think that the busy badge is something that's, ooh, I'm always busy. Um, and somehow, if you had a few minutes to do self care, you were not being efficient or you're being lazy or whatever.
Yeah, that is really true. And I think I'm not sure why our society is like that. That is, it truly is the the badge of honor, right? How busy you are. And I think we should just take that when you're saying, so, oh, I've been so busy. We should stop saying that. I mean, that's just a,
Yeah.
I don't know, just something to fill up space because being busy doesn't mean you're happy. It doesn't mean that you're being efficient. It doesn't mean that, everything's flowing smooth. It's just, are we just, why do we feel the need to just fill up the time? It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
And if you can truly remain stress free in that, and that's the state that you like, which is, this is where your own values and what you like to do is important. So if being organized and busy is what you like to do, I look at Kathy, she's always happy and she's always organized and I admire that. She's just amazing, But for me, being busy all the time like that is stressful. And so I plan gaps here and there where I can slow down just for a minute and maybe do, nothing.
Right. And too, and I think you're right. Everybody has that different level of energy, different things that we are taking care of, right?
Yeah, so it's okay to be busy. We're not saying you can't be busy.
Right,
But if
right.
that's stressing you out and it's like, and you feel like every minute has to be filled and you feel guilty when you don't have something filling that minute, then that's the time to maybe look at what busy is in your life.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about planning, scheduling things in, I've been telling myself this now for a while. I still haven't done it, but to in between my different networking meetings and stuff, to just plug in 15 minutes to say, okay, this 15 minutes, and just plan it, put it right in there. That's when I am going to go walk around the block, or walk around the house or something, just to be moving, to get up out of the chair. And since so many of us do, work at home and we're on the computers all day, that really is good. And actually, I do enjoy that. I don't really like exercise for exercise sake, but to go out if the weather's nice and walk around the block, like you were saying, take a long walk. Just even 10 minutes can really make a difference in our overall health, in our overall attitude for the day or whatever. Use it as your prayer time. Talk to the Lord while you're taking a walk. Or with Gabby, I just take her with me, and she thinks she's in heaven. And I enjoy just being with her. So whatever fun means to you, first of all, I think you should schedule a little appointment with yourself and really think about what are the things that you enjoy? What are the things that, what is fun to you? What does that mean? Is it getting out with people? Then maybe schedule at least once a week, going out with a friend and having a cup of coffee, or, meet for lunch, whatever that looks like. Because if we don't let ourselves have any fun, we don't do some self-care, our lives are going to be pretty boring. We're going to be very stressed, and pretty soon it begins to just wear on you. And then
Well, and you tend to explode or implode or whatever direction you choose to break down.
right, right. And that whole health self-care piece is so important, and whatever that looks like to you. But sometimes we don't stop long enough to say, gee, what does make me happy? When was the last time I had fun? When was the last time I, rode my bike? I don't have a bike, but whatever that is. So think about that. And sometimes it takes stopping a moment to look at it and see what that could be. So we encourage you to go have some fun, release some stuff. Yes,
Hey,
Grace, you are
yes,
right.
definitely.
For sure. So it is important to do that and take care of yourself, because the truth is we can't give what we do not have. Okay, so you can't give of yourself. I'm so many everyone that I ever have seen on our show or in our group are caring, loving people who like to give to others. Okay, so you just keep giving, but if you don't fill yourself back up again, pretty soon that cup is empty. You don't have anything to give. So whether it's money or joy or fun, whatever that is. So if we take care of ourselves, we fill ourselves up. So when you go have a little fun, so it's not a bad thing. Some of y'all think having fun is a bad thing. No, fun is necessary. Fun is
Well,
necessary.
and we're going to have fun in August, so get used to it.
Exactly. It is
We're
going
at
to be.
Top of the hour already.
We are. Yeah, Grace, again, thank you. You have to learn to give from your overflow. Exactly.
Exactly.
One of the videos that I did, I actually had jelly beans in the kitchen, and I had a cup. And then every time the object lesson was every time you do something for yourself, do something to take care of yourself, take a walk, you got to put a few jelly beans in your thing. So every time you did that, so if you never do anything, your cup stays empty. But as it overflowed, because pretty soon, my jelly beans were overflowing. So then you take those extras, and that's what you give out to people. It's that overflow. So Grace, yeah, that's really true. So,
Yep.
well, yes, we are at the top of the hour. Thank y'all for joining us. We always love it. You have so many places to be and so many choices, so many options. So thank you for choosing to be here, whether you're right now live with us or you're watching the replay later on at your convenience. We really appreciate it. And I go back and I read any of your comments. So if you have an idea of fun or something that you do, put it in the box, and I'd love to read it and see what you have to say there. All righty. So Lisa, any last comment, last thought?
If you have a Franken mommy, take her and retire into the closet in the back and never take her out again. and appreciate your own, or actually not appreciate, celebrate your own talents. Celebrate your own talents.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And yeah, I love that Franken mommy. That's pretty good. Or Franken woman or something. Because not everybody's mommies, but that those of us who are, we get that really well. So
yeah.
So, all righty. Well, next week we actually are going to have a special guest with us. I'll be putting that announcement in the comments for next week. I'm going to say here. I'm going to double check here and make sure that I am. And maybe let me see here. Well, I don't have it on me, but I am 95% sure that we are having an amazing guest next week joining us. But okay. I will go back and check that, and I'll make that announcement because I want to make sure that y'all have that opportunity. It's Nancy White. That's who it is. And she is so lovely. Oh my gosh. She is amazing, and you'll just enjoy her. She's from the South, and she just loves the Lord and just loves to have conversation. So that'll be a fun morning. All right, everybody, remember that life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. So choose to have some fun this week. Put some comments out there this week when you do something fun, when you get to laugh, and share that with us. And then that'll make us all a little happier to see that. All right, go out, make it a fabulous day, everybody, and we will see you next week. Mwah. Thanks so much. Bye now.